As far as evaluating them, yeah, I mean that you go through the process of the interview and you have different questions that you ask them to be able to take themselves through it. Like we don't leave anything to chance. Like we're going to go through our process and hey, how are you going to call this situation? How are you thinking about this situation? All right, what you ask them game plan scenarios from games that they've been around. So, excuse me, there's a lot of different ways to do that. You know, obviously I won't get into every way that I do that in an interview, but you go through a process if I'm hiring a wide receiver coach, if I'm hiring a coordinator, whatever that is, you go through a process to see if you feel like they're going to be good at doing that personal job. Yeah, you always want to, make sure that when you're on the verge of hiring somebody or in a final evaluation portion, you're bringing a couple guys back in, you want to reach out to different guys and guys that they've worked with, guys that they've played with, guys that they've coached. You know, that's what you would expect. That's what I do for you. And you go through a job interview. It's very similar. And so you're looking for common themes. And, it was a common theme of everyone spoke very similar about Shawn. And you can imagine that those were glowing, reviews, which is one of the reasons. Obviously, we hired him because we thought he was, we got to the phone call situations where we're kind of going through that. And everyone had great things to say about him, the person he is, the coach he is, the football mind that he is. And so really excited about that. Yeah, again, there will be some things that has there's a lot of steps to take place before we know exactly what version of this offense is going to be. But obviously, Shawn comes from a family of coaches and things that he's done that we really respect, that we know is tough to defend. We know we've done a lot of good things here as well, as far as some of the things we've done that's hard to defend. So being able to sprinkle some of that in. And a lot will be, you got to go through the process with your players to get to all those answers again. And you're constantly going to try to get to it, get to where you will be by the end of the season. But really, it's always important at the end of the day that we're able to run the football, be able to do play action off of that, play physical, play with relentless effort, play with great detail, play together. Those will be all things that we're looking to do. Yeah, that's, my experience with great football players is you come in and you're like, hey, Saquon, we're gonna run inside zone. Yeah, he's gonna be really good at it. Hey, we're gonna run gap schemes. He's gonna be really good at it. Hey, we're gonna run wide zone. He's gonna be really good at it. Hey, we're gonna run the option. He's gonna be really good at it. Hey, we're gonna split you out wide. He's just a great football player. And so guys that are great football players can fit into a lot of different offenses. And Saquon, regardless of the schemes, I think you saw that, in some of the things that we've done, like he's been highly productive in many of the schemes that, whether it's gap schemes, whether it's inside zones, whether it's, pin and pulls, whether it's toss cracks. Every one of these things, I'm picturing him breaking a big run off on that. And so that's a common theme with good football players. They can fit into a lot of different schemes. So I believe he'll be, exceptional at that. Yeah, I think you're constantly evolving in everything. That's why the communication between coaching staff, front office is so important. Of hey, here's what we're looking for. You do that every year. That's one of the things that I think Howie and I do a really good job of. Hey, here's what we're thinking. Some of the things that we're thinking, and here's some of the attributes that this player needs to be able to do that. And so, yeah, I think it's always important that tight ends are able to create mismatches. in the pass game versus some of the different guys that they get in the inside coverages. It's been our case in the pass game that they're great yards after catch guys. I think you've seen that with Dallas of how phenomenal he is with the ball in his hands and how difficult he is to bring down. And then being able to be effective in the run game. We've been in the top 10 or top 5 in rushing. Obviously, in all the years, but this year. And it's important that they're highly involved in that and being able to block tough matchups with the defensive ends or linebackers or whoever it may be. Why was Chris Cooper the right fit as the offensive line? Yeah, again, you go through. You're able to go through and talk to all these different guys and figure out who's best for you. And I think as we talk to guys, we're really impressed by Chris and the things that he's done as a player, as a coach, and his knowledge on the game, his knowledge on a system that we're some of the things that we're going to do from that system, because there's a lot of intricacies within that, and so just excited about everything that he'll bring. It's fun. It's always important for your position coaches to help guys develop fundamentally. That's always something I'm looking for with position coaches. Can this guy help our guys get better fundamentally? Can this guy add to our scheme? Can this guy hold people accountable? Can this guy, fit in and be a good team player within the staff? Because it's so important that we're together as a staff. And I think the answer, whenever we bring somebody in, we believe that with that group of guys that we brought in, and Chris is no different. Yeah, I think Saquon. I think we saw the athletic ability, the vision, everything with Saquon that we saw, when we were watching him with the Giants or what we saw in 2024. And so, listen, we as a whole, we didn't reach our ultimate goal of being able to be at the top of the mountain. Only one team was able to do that this year, and so we all have this thing that we want to get back and prove ourselves again. That's what you have to do in this league, right? You don't win. You get back up and you try to prove yourself again. And I think that's everybody's mindset on this team. I'm excited about when these guys get back into the building and I know we're going to feel that of like that. Just hey, we're hungry for more. And Saquon's no different. I think that we're all going to feel that way. I'm sorry. You always want the guys that you want to try to bring back as many guys as you possibly can. As far as, having good football players, good people around. And so obviously when you ask me this question, whether it be about Josh Sweat or whoever it may be, you always want your guys back. I think I've answered it pretty much the same way all the time. You don't win as many games as we've won together, and especially a guy like BG and say, no. I mean, I think that's not going to say it's a ridiculous question, but of course you want guys back like that. And so I love the guys on our football team. Like I said, we've been through the highest of highs. We've been through lows together. And that's when you come together as a football team and as people when you're going through the ups and downs together. And so, I love our team. And you name the guy, and I'm going to say, yeah, I want him back. I think Christian is a phenomenal football coach that has contributed to a lot of our player development throughout the last 2 years that he's been here and to a lot of success that we've had through this and, these last 2 years. And so I think the world of him and wish him the best, exception of 2 games every year. Ooh, no. Yeah. No, I think he continually gets better. I think you saw him have a great year this year. And, even when a guy prepares not to have as good a year, like you're always looking at it like, is this arrow on the rise? Is this arrow on the fall? Like, and even if a guy doesn't have his best year, he still can be on the rise. Well, I think we saw Devonta have a great year, and I think you just continue to see him play better and better. And I think that's a tribute to who he is. Guys that are tough, that love football, that are smart football players, and they're talented, have a tendency to reach their ceiling, and God willing. And I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing him continue to get better. You're seeing him continue to do these things and make plays only that he can make on the football field. And so I just think you continue to see him on the rise, and excited about what he'll look like in this new offense that we'll have. Yeah, I mean, again, that's something that I don't. How many did you have this year? Yeah, you're trying to get your guys as many targets as you possibly can that are big time playmakers. I think that's kind of been questions that you guys have asked me, is like, hey, how come this guy didn't get as many targets, and how come he got too many targets, and there's only one football. And so we understand that that's part of our job, that if Devonta has 112 or 140, somebody else is going to have a little bit less. Then it's going to be, why did he get more targets? And so we understand that's kind of the flow of how it goes. And how, like, last year, Smitty was highly productive, but we ran 24, pardon me. We ran the crap out of the ball, right? And so I think it just all depends. Obviously, we'll do whatever we need to do to try to win each game. Getting Devonta Smith the ball and getting him targets is always going to be important, as long as he's an Eagle, to the success of our football team. And so, it's just the way the season goes, the way the flow of a game goes. It's important that he's seeing targets every game, because he does good things when he gets those things. So I don't ever want to say, hey, this is the number. He needs to have this many targets. He needs to be able to affect the game each game, and that number can change each game, each year, based off of that. Yeah, I think there's some things that teams did this year that they did a good job of being able to stop it. And we got to get back to being able to. We either have to get back to being able to be as dominant as we were at it, or we find new avenues to be able to convert on third down or in the red zone. And so that's the fun part about offseason, is to be able to go through those processes. You go through them during the season as well. I think you saw us do some cool things off of it, and you still want to be able to do that. Hey, here you're doing that with your entire offense. Hey, here this play's coming. Just kidding, we're running this play, and that's what you're constantly trying to do, to put seeds of doubt within the defense. And this play has that ability, and we know we have to. That it took a little bit of step back, and we got to coach it better. We got to execute it better, and looking forward to seeing where that goes in the future. I get you, Jeff.
How do you think Joe Casper will fill that role? Do you see as someone who has a similar trajectory?
Yeah, just really intelligent guys that love football, that are good football coaches, that help players, become the best versions of themselves. So, I wish you were able to sit in there with me when I'm when I'm having an exit interview with a player, and be able to let them, hear them, what they say about their coaches. Both guys, their players, rave about them. And that's my job, to be able to bring in coaches that are great coaches. You're a product of the people that you have around you, both players and coaches, as a head coach. And so really happy with the way those guys have worked together. Look forward to, Joe's relationship with Mike, and of how we move forward in that room. But just have the utmost respect for both those guys. Say that one more time, John.
What do you think about the shift, the expectation that
You know what? I guess I didn't really have a feel like, I'm like, oh, I felt this way or I felt that way. I mean, there's a lot of different things that are proposed and that come up within a year, and your job as a coach is to be able to adapt to the rule. Whether that's the kickoff rule that we had to adapt to this year, that's your job as coach, to figure that out and but you never know what that's going to be until you get to it, right? Because there's always speculation one way or the other on a lot of different things, but there's things that you don't have to cross that bridge until you get there, and we're not there quite yet. So we'll see. Yeah. Yeah, man. There you go. How was he as a teacher? He's a good teacher. I know that. Yeah, just a lot, just a lot of good people there that helped me become, be where I am today. And, it starts right there with my family and where I grew up and my friends and my loved ones there. And so really indebted to that part of the country. All right, baby.